Many years ago, our economy was based on manufacturing. Young people who weren't interested in geometry or physics could fall back on a career as a factory worker. Times have changed. Most good jobs now require some knowledge of science, technology, engineering, and math. For kids in middle school today, by the time they enter the job market, it will be nearly impossible to succeed without a good foundation in math and science. And technology is making the world smaller. If an employer can't find qualified workers in San Antonio or Syracuse, they can easily get what they need in Shanghai or Sydney. All of these countries are ahead of the US in both math and science. How did we get here? And what does it mean for the future of our nation and our children? In November 2009, Time Warner Cable launched Connect a Million Minds, our initiative to connect young people with opportunities in science, technology, engineering, and math. As part of this initiative, we are proud to bring you Math, Science, and the Future of Our Nation, a global online town hall meeting, hosted by former Vice President Al Gore, from the studios of Current TV in San Francisco, with inventor Dean Kamen, hosts of the Discovery Channel hit TV show Mythbusters, Jamie Hyneman and Adam Savage, Microsoft Xbox creative visionary Kudo Tsunoda, United States Secretary of Education Arne Duncan, astronaut Sally Ride, and young people from across the nation and around the world, including you. To join the discussion, all you need to do is register, then click Ask a Question. Then you can type in your question or comment. Or if you have a webcam, you can appear on screen and interact live. You can also share your thoughts in real time via the text chat or the Twitter feed. Now, to kick off our global online town hall meeting, from Time Warner Cable headquarters in New York, Glenn Britt, CEO of Time Warner Cable.
Hi, my name is Glenn Britt. I'm CEO of Time Warner Cable. Welcome to our first town hall meeting. Today we hope to have a lively dialogue on the state and future of math and science and technology education. You're going to have the opportunity to talk to students from across the United States and also from other countries. This is a really important subject, important to the future of our society and important to the future of the whole world for that matter. So we look forward to a lively discussion and a great session. I'd like to go out of our way to thank all of our special guests that are going to be here today. And now I'd like to introduce the former Vice President, Al Gore, who's going to be our host.
I urge you to explore the website for Connect a Million Minds. And I want to personally thank Glenn Britt for his tremendous personal dedication to this project. Now, we're going to have a lively hour here. I want to give just a few words of background. You've seen that word STEM, S-T-E-M, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. STEM education has been crucial to America's global leadership for decades now. I remember as a kid in school when the Russians launched Sputnik and kicked off the space race in the 1950s. And then all of us know what the innovators of Silicon Valley have done to propel our nation's economy today. These things involve STEM, math and science education. And that's also going to be crucial for solving problems in the future. Problems now like global warming and creating a green energy future. And there are others as well. And yet when you look at math and science education, it's clear that we've got a problem that we've got to address. 80% of the jobs created in the next decade will require some form of math and science skills. And yet, the trends clearly show that young people in America today are not yet prepared to take on these challenges. Just think about this fact. American students now rank 35th in the world in math, 29th in the world in science. We used to lead the world in these subjects. Now we're falling behind. And it's really important, again, because jobs, our economy, the quality of life for young people today and in the future, and possibly the future of the planet's ecosystem and other things depend crucially on doing something about this challenge. Now, there's been a lot of talk about how schools have been failing to adequately prepare our students to compete in a global marketplace, especially in areas like math and science. but there has been much less attention paid to how students themselves feel about these subjects and how they feel they stand relative to their peers in other countries that are now outperforming American kids. So that leads us to this town hall meeting. Our purpose is to spark a national dialogue that we hope will continue long after the end of this hour, and we'll focus on how to shift youth attitudes in order to increase interest and performance in math and science. Now, the town hall is going to have 4 parts, roughly speaking. We'll move smoothly from one to the next, but part 1 is focused on America's place in the world and where we stand compared with other countries. The second part will be focused on how we make dreams come true, and we're going to ask whether our young people have a realistic view of the connection between applying themselves in math and science now and their chances of landing their dream job in the future, being successful in whatever they do. The third part focuses on some of these cultural issues like the concept of geeks and nerds, and does that still exist? How does that relate to interest in math and science? And is it connected to social status at school? Some of the studies indicate maybe that is an issue, but we want to hear from young people about this. And then the final part will focus on priorities and interests and ambitions and what really matters to young people. Would they rather grow up to be the situation from Jersey Shore or Steve Jobs in Silicon Valley? Let me quickly introduce some of the others who are going to be a part of this conversation. Very honored that the U.S. Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, is going to be with us. He's doing so much to reform our educational system and to promote math and science education. Dean Kamen, a personal friend, a really cool inventor, founder of First Robotics and DECA Research and Development Corporation. He's invented things like the insulin pump and the Segway. Kudo Sonoda, general manager at Xbox at Microsoft, clearly one of the leading creative minds in the video game industry, really an intelligent, good guy. Now, then people you know, Jamie Heineman and Adam Savage of the Discovery Network hit Mythbusters, who've really found a way to bring fun back into science. Now, we're also going to have a number of young people, and I'll introduce them one by one as they join the conversation. Now, finally, before we get started, just a word about what an online town hall is. You've heard the term used before, but the meaning has changed a bit. It used to mean text-only chat or a one-way broadcast with video questions emailed in advance, pre-selected. But we're doing it differently. We're using a brand new technology from vocal.com that allows anyone, anywhere to participate live via webcam. So we're going to try to have a free-flowing discussion among participants from around the world. We're very happy that there's some viewing parties with groups of students gathered in 16 Time Warner cable markets around the country, including Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Lincoln, Nebraska, Cleveland, Ohio, Raleigh, North Carolina, New York City. We'll be hearing live from young people in many of these markets. We want to hear from anyone who has something to add. Now, as with any cutting-edge technology, expect there may be some imperfections or glitches. You'll have to be tolerant of some time delays, particularly when we're connecting to other countries. You may hear an echo at times. You may hear my voice twice, for example. You may hear people talking over one another. With time delays, that can happen. So keep in mind we're on the frontier of this technology, but it's going to be fun. Let's jump right into it. Part 1, America's place in the world. I'm honored to begin this section by introducing a short clip from the first State of the Union address by President Obama.
China's not waiting to revamp its economy. Germany is not waiting. India's not waiting. These nations they're not standing still. These nations aren't playing for second place. They're putting more emphasis on math and science. Well, I do not accept second place for the United States of America.
We're not only second place, the U.S. now ranks 20th internationally based on our share of graduate degrees awarded in engineering, computer science, and math. More than half the patents awarded here last year were given to companies from outside the U.S. In American grad schools, nearly half of the students studying the sciences are from other countries. And in a 2009 survey, nearly 1/3 of this country's manufacturing companies reported having trouble finding enough skilled workers. Let's start with Secretary of Education Arne Duncan. Secretary Duncan, thanks for joining us. You've been on the front lines of this battle for quite a while now, and thank you for what you're doing. How do you see our situation at this point?
First of all, Mr. Vice President, thanks so much for your participation in this conversation. You're one of my personal heroes and what you've done in so many ways to strengthen our country. I have so much respect for you. You hit the nail on the head earlier. We're not in a position that we want to be in today. That's the facts. Whether it's looking at the international comparisons of ranking in the 20s or 30s in math and science, whether it's we've fallen in one generation from first in the world in college graduates to ninth, we're not where we need to be. And what the president repeatedly says is those countries that out-educate us today will out-compete us tomorrow. We have to do so much more in the areas of math and science. We have to produce that next generation of scientists and entrepreneurs and innovators, not just to fill the unfilled jobs today, but to create the new jobs and the new technologies of tomorrow. So we have to do some things differently. We've talked about doing some controversial, some would say controversial things. I think we should pay math and science teachers more money. We can't do enough to get great teachers into our underserved communities. I think we need to invest in our young people who want to pursue these careers. As part of our budget going forward, we're asking for $300 million, a huge increase in funding specifically around the STEM fields. And I just think our young people in this country are as talented, as committed, as creative, as intellectually curious as children anywhere in the world. We haven't given them enough great opportunities to pursue their passions. We can break through. I look forward to this conversation with children, not just in our country, but around the globe today. But it's so critically important that we confront these issues openly and honestly and figure out how we challenge the status quo that is not leading our country where we need to go today.
Again, thank you for what you're doing. I want to bring in Rebecca from Raleigh, North Carolina. Rebecca, I understand that at your school, you have an exchange program with kids from Europe and Asia. Have you noticed a difference in the way they approach math and science and schoolwork in general?
I've noticed a big difference in how they treat school, and more specifically, math and science. They seem much more focused and much more serious about it. And our school has had this program for 10 years, so we've really gotten to know the students and teachers, and we have seen a big difference. But they have positively influenced our school because we have started entering a math contest in Japan for the past 4 years, and they've also encouraged us to work harder in STEM fields. So it's been a great partnership.
Well, that's fantastic. Let's go to Melissa in Irvine, California. Now, Melissa, you've got an interesting story. You were born in Texas, but then you went to school for a few years in Shanghai, and now you live in California. So you've had a chance to see what differences there are between the attitudes and approaches and experiences of students in the U.S. and in China. What have you learned from your experiences about that?
Well, when I went to school in Shanghai, the kids were very, very serious about their grades, and as a result, that influenced me. We could get really intense about our grades. If we got a bad score on the test, like a B or a C, that was bad for us. Then you could find us in the bathroom crying or something over our grades. But when I transferred to school in Irvine this past year, I noticed the kids were more lax, like they wouldn't turn in their homework on time, which was very surprising to me because in Shanghai, if you didn't turn in your homework on time, it was a very big deal, and the teachers would reprimand you, and people might cry. I mean, I've cried over missing homework myself, so yes, that's a big difference.
Well, that's really startling, and we're going to be trying to focus on how those kinds of attitudes that you encountered when you came back maybe could change.